There is a massive, and I can't stress this enough, there is a massive division within subcultures of the automotive community. Our event in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and that leads us to how can we fix and rebuild the automotive community. Hello and welcome back to the TGR Podcast. This is our third episode on the podcast, and I am loving talking to you about cars because that is exactly what we're here to do. But today we're going to answer a question that I had to myself after I saw some videos. What has happened to the car community and why has it changed? But before we get into that, I want to route back to the previous episode where I answered the question, does the classic car still exist for the average person? Does the affordable classic car still exist? And my answer, and I have proof now, it's not just a one-off deal like with the Chevy, because I've done it again. I've proven it again, because just a week ago, and a week after the last episode, I picked up another project that will be here on the channel, that we'll be kind of delving into here in a little bit, for under $1,000, and was able to find parts in the other nearby town, which was super cool. So I won't say any more on that because I will spill the beans, because it's just super neato, right? And see, I already almost was like, oh, I could tell him this, but I can't. No, we're going to leave it there. So just keep it in mind. There's a new project here at the garage, and we're going to be delving into that after we work on the Chevy a little bit more. We got a few little things that we still need to do to that. But apart from that, what did you guys think of the truck show? Both of them, the car show, the classic car show, and the classic truck show. Now those are just kind of like little one-offs that I wanted to do, because you never know what you're going to come across at those. And I love to hear the stories that people have to share. So those are kind of like podcasts as well, but interviews where we were able to see the cars and hear their story, instead of just me walking around going, hey, look, it's a 1952 International pickup truck. Wouldn't you look at that? Isn't that just neat? You actually got to hear the story from the owners, and I think that was super cool. Big shout out and big thank you to those of you who contributed to the most recent video. That was awesome. Loved it. Anyway, let's get back to the nitty gritty. Oh, and I have two microphones now. I realized in the past two episodes that only one side was working. Like the left speaker was the only one, or left earbud or left headphone was the only thing that was sending audio. The other side was like super quiet. So now, what is better than one microphone is two, right? Two microphones. Bear with me. These microphones are from the 1950s. I think they sound pretty decent, and there is a lawnmower, a giant lawnmower going on in the background. So if you hear a slight humming sound, they are mowing the entire pasture right in front of me. So anyway, we got two microphones now. I hope it sounds better. We're trying to figure out what the heck's going on with that. But I want to answer this question, and we might not even have an answer for it because it's probably changing while I'm talking right now. What has happened to the car community, and how has car culture changed? And we're going to go from back then, like the 1970s, all the way up to now, and most recently with a certain event that was shut down due to excessive rowdiness or over fun. Too much fun. Too much fun can be a danger. So before the car culture was even here, before there was anything like that, guys were going, and this kind of routes back to does the affordable classic car still exist? Back in the day, these cars that we have, that we call classics, were daily drivers. They were just another car you'd see on the road. I've had many people tell me about how that 64 Chevrolet, that C10 pickup truck we've been working on, it was just the farm truck, you know? They had all kinds of them, all sorts of them. They'd use them to haul hay, take the kids to school, go to the grocery store, go on a family vacation, but they were just a pickup truck. They were nothing special. You know, they weren't like let's see here. 1964, what would have been a classic car then? They weren't a 1948 Dodge Power Wagon military truck, or a Willys Jeep, or whatever, or even like the Model A's and Model T's, They weren't a classic car. They were just another car on the highway. Kind of like how you see a 2006 Ram pickup truck, or a 2006 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon, or whatever else, and it doesn't pop into your head that those are getting up there in age. They're 20 years old now. 19. They're going to be 20 years old in 3 months, okay? So they're getting there. I mean, 25 years is when a classic car is made. That's when they finally enter that classic stage. They're a newer classic, definitely, for sure, but they are now a classic car. And so back in 1970, those 64 classics were an older car, but they were getting into that. They're 10 years old. Who knows how they were used? And they're just turning into a used car, that cheap classic car, technically, that is now no longer here, unless you go and look for it. And so by the time you reached the 80s, a 50s car was up there in age. It was definitely way past the 25-year mark. And a 40s car, 20s car, a car from 1908, those were antiques, classics, vintage. There's 3 levels: classic, vintage, and antique. And so that's when the car community really kind of started. And this is just my opinion. This is not like, here's my Webster Dictionary reference guide to everything car community. This is just what I've seen. And, we'll get to, I'm already going 5 miles ahead of where I want to be talking right now. So let's stay on track here. The classic car community kind of is what the first niche of the car people, car culture. And so you had gassers, hot rods, greasers, all that, like the TV show Grease, that's car culture right there. That's the beginnings of it. That's where we started seeing this happen more and more and more. There was no official car shows then, like you have today, where you have SEMA show. There was no, what is it, the Holly Takeover, LS Takeover, or whatever they have. There was no such thing as that. It was just a bunch of guys that had worked on these old cars, made them into something that they weren't before, and they were showing them off. Pop the hood, sit there and wax the fender all day, try to pick up some girlies. You never know. And then you started doing drag races with those. But it wasn't a thing back then. Things back then were a lot more lax than they are today. You could get away with doing an illegal drag race, and you could get away with a lot more, what they call it, street takeovers now, and burnout sessions. You could get away with a lot more of that back then than you can now. And that's just kind of how things have changed, because now these street takeovers, these burnout competitions, these drifting things, where they're not part of a sanctioned event, have gotten increasingly more out of control. And I'm by no means young or by no means old in any scheme of things. Some people would say I'm old. Other people would say I'm still a child, which I am. Always will be. Never not gonna be. But I've noticed over the past 5 years an uptick of interest in classic cars and just cars in general, which is good. That is a good thing to have. We want people to be interested in cars, because the more people that are interested in cars, the more things that we might have at our fingertips, the more things we might be able to do, the more things that maybe won't be lost. But we have to give over that knowledge, that experience, that culture to newcomers. Because right now, What is influencing the car culture and the car community is social media. Stuff like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Back in the 2010s, there was no real big sanctioned events here. So pre-2010, building and tuning cars. It was garage based, a passion with smaller meets, but it was respect based and knowledge sharing. You were bringing your project over, showing what you did to your project to someone else who's been doing something on their project. You could come together, get a couple ideas, maybe share some of the stuff that you did to someone else so that it's not so hard for them. Passing on the knowledge, and then they would look at your rig and they would come and go, wow, I really like that. Where did you get that said part? Oh, I got it from LMC Truck. Stuff like that. I'm using trucks as an analogy because that's what we're working on right now. But once we got into the 2010s, when social media started really gaining that speed, you had a car show scene explosion. Started seeing a lot more people going to unsanctioned events, which are great. You can meet a lot of different people there, where you just kind of park at a gas station and there was a car show right then and there. But you were humble about it, and there was no getting crazy yet. But in that 10-year period between 2010 and 2020 is when there was a few changes starting to happen. We had a lot more sections, a lot more niches within the car community, a lot more subcultures within the car community. And I'm going to start using the word automotive community because it's more than just cars now. Because now we've got big semi trucks, we've got tractors, we've got, and I don't know if you could put tractors under automotive, but you could say that the first car that was ever made was by a German and a Bulgarian. And it was more of a tractor than a car, but it was four-wheeled and had an engine. Kind of what we got now is cars, right? So tractors, and you could put motorcycles in an automotive world. It's got two wheels and an engine, right? Can drive it on the road. So I'm going to use the word automotive community because that's the big dome under everything else. And so you had a rise of stance culture, Instagram builds, meat cultures becoming global, like Dubai. Their cars are expensive, but a lot of them are newer cars. Not to say that they don't have older cars, but a lot of them are those newer cars. But they have their own little meets and get-togethers where they share the appreciation of these cars. For instance, that car show, not the truck show, but the car show in the most recent video, before the most recent video, that right there had everything from gassers, drag racers, some of those drag race cars with the really long nose, the big fat tires on the back, and the huge engines, those kind, drift cars, stanced out cars, new cars, old cars, Model A's sitting right next to brand new Ford pickup trucks and Jeeps and whatnot. But it was all about just sharing the vibe, right? It's like, oh gosh, now we're going to talk about the vibe. No. It's real. You go to a car show in a small town and you get all of these cars together, you get all of these people together from all different walks of life. No matter your color, your creed, what you believe, who you voted for, doesn't matter at the car show because you're all there appreciating the same thing. And honestly, what I've noticed, it all goes out the door. You're there to appreciate cars. You're there to talk to people about cars. You're there to enjoy and appreciate the passion that has been around for about 120 years. I mean, you take right now, we're in 2020. So in the 1920s, that's now 100 years, but 20 years prior to that, there were cars being pumped out, coming out of the woodwork, being made in barns. I mean, that German and Bulgarian car was all the way back in the 1800s, right? Steam-powered cars, all that kind of stuff. And so that's why I say 120 years of building this community, this culture that has it not only influenced the way we do things today. I mean, everybody has a car. There's very few people And it's a lot of people that live in cities where you don't necessarily need a car, but there's a lot of people in this world that have cars. And some of them are home built, which are awesome. When you come across those home built jobs, those are neat. I sometimes I sit there and go, what possessed you to have that idea to do that out of this and make a car out of it? But hey, it works, right? And so the community, the automotive community, the automotive culture really influenced a lot of the way we do things today. Look at Henry Ford. Henry Ford revolutionized the way things were made with his assembly line. That's the automotive culture community, something automotive influencing the entire way of life. The 5-day work week. Another one of Henry Ford's little thoughts. He believed that people should have time off because he wanted quality work. A lot of people were doing 1 day off a week and tired employees working them from sun up to sundown. Not Henry Ford. I'm sure he did, but the idea of a 9 to 5 or an 8-hour day, a 10-hour day, 5 days a week was inspired by Henry Ford and him making cars because he wanted premium cars as opposed to everyone else who were less premium. But that right there is only a small example. World War II. A lot of people say that World War II was won by the Willys Jeep. It is the number one most produced vehicle in the world aside from Volkswagen Bugs. That right there, I mean, you had tanks, big trucks, Jeeps, airplane parts, the Mustang. There is a lot of influence that the car community has over the rest of the world, and some of them also involve being in wars. But it's not only that. That's kind of more on a political side of things, where cars have become such an integral part of society that there's people that have whole communities where they're just this, we're just stance cars, nothing else, and that's fine, that's great. Or we're just lifted trucks, or we're missing our lift in the rear end. You know who you are. Whole community, just like that, a whole culture within the automotive community that is all that. JDM, one of the most popular. Japanese domestic market. Or John Deere M. It's also a JDM, right? I'm just kidding. But now we've got key problems in today's culture, and a lot of this stems from social media. I'm not sure if you guys remember life before 2020. Things were a lot different before 2020. And during 2020 to now, a lot of things happened because of certain circumstances that we don't need to go into on this podcast. We'll save that for another thing. Street takeovers. Are you familiar with that term? Street takeovers is when an intersection is blocked off for donuts, burnouts, or races, but not sanctioned. As in, it's just like, it's midnight, 1 a.m., and all your buddies are going out there. We're going to shut down. We're going to take over the street, and we're going to have a little car show or a car meet, and we're going to do burnouts. We're going to do donuts. We're going to do some street racing because it was super cool to see that in Fast and the Furious. See? Car culture again in Hollywood. Car culture really, it's a pretty important deal. So you had that going on, but this exploded. Street takeovers exploded during the 2020s to from 2020 to 2023, late 2023, when we all had to be inside, right? Outside was scary. But it exploded during that time, and it became content for social media. A lot of people had a lot of time to sit back and watch stuff on TV. And what was seen as trending and cool, and people were chasing those trends, was to go do these wow activities, right? And so these videos on social media would have gained millions of views, and this normalized the kind of behavior that we just saw at a certain event just a couple days ago. And it became less clout. It became more clout over craftsmanship. Who's got the coolest car? Who's got the fastest car? Who's got the loudest car? Who's got this? Who's got that? Instead of how much time and how much effort did you put into building said car? It's like I see people that are out here and they're telling me their story about how when I got this truck or when I got this car, it was a rusted out pile of junk. I'm staring at a $50,000 car. That's the kind of time and effort. And it took him 10 years to get it exactly right. And it's still not done because there's still something this is not quite right because they are the craftsmen of that vehicle now. Yes, Chevy made it. Yes, Ford made it. Went through its life, did what it's going to do, sat, rusted away, now need to get rebuilt. And this person rebuilt it. They are now the craftsmen, and that is their craftsmanship. And that's what car shows in the car community, I feel, used to be. About sharing your craftsmanship, sharing what you did. A lot of people do it because they need to. They need to have that escape. And they dive, put in whatever word you want to use, their heart and soul into these cars. But now, building a car takes time and skill, but clout content is instant. Nobody wants to take the time. And that's the sad truth. Nobody wants to take the time to sit back, take 3 years to rebuild a car. When I was a kid, there was this book called If I Built a Car. And this little boy, he's a drawer. He can draw, and he looks at all these cars. He sees all these cars, and he starts wondering, well, what would I do if I built a car? And so he goes through, and he talks about how, well, I'd add this, and I'd do that, and I'd make it look like this. And before you know it, you're ending up with Johnny Cash's car he built from all kinds of different cars. But that right there was a dream that was had. And this happens. A dream somebody has, and they put it and make it real. They bring it to life, right? But now, with clout, people rev, people do burnouts, people flex expensive cars for likes. And a lot of times it's not even their car, it's their daddy's car. But if it is your car, that is great. Good on you. But I've just noticed that there's a lot more of that. I'm going to go out and I'm going to go buy it instead of building it. That's why there's an entire culture within the automotive community that's built, not bought. And I feel like we're coming into a lot of bought instead of built. They'd much rather have somebody else do the work instead of them doing the work. And then that is where you lose the respect for the machine. There's a good lot of us out there that believe that cars are living, breathing things. I mean, they need fuel to run. When you starve them out, they die. Well, look at the terminology we use. We mechanics, we technicians. It's the same things that we use when we're talking about people. And movies like Herbie gave a personality. Cars have personality. Cars have, you look at a car, you can see that if they've been taken care of or if they haven't been taken care of. And so that's the respect for the machine. But if you've just got out, bought the car, yep, I went out and bought myself a 1967 Ford Mustang, and I went and took it out here to Joe Schmo's, Slocum's Joe shop, where he put on a whole tuning kit, headers, basically rebuilt the engine, put a cam in it. He doesn't really know what he's talking about. He's just mouthing off what he's heard. And, now I got this super cool car. It's way better than yours. Whereas maybe it's not shiny paint, still got some patina on it. It's the same car, but the thing runs like a dream, but you know every single part of that car. You know every single quirk. You've seen every bolt. You've touched every single bit of that car. You've seen every single bit of that car. You've cried over it. You've skinned your knuckles on it. You've bled on it. Everything. You've had your blood, sweat, and tears literally put into a car, and that right there is what is being lost. We're losing that pride of ownership, and I've seen it myself. I've talked to people to where, what'd you do to the car? What'd you do? And they look at me like what the heck are you talking about, boy? I'm asking you, what was it like before? Like, how is it to drive? How does it do? Oh, I bought it like this. I don't know. Don't get me wrong. That's fine. That's great. If you got the money, do it. But these younger people my age, are losing the respect for the machine. I mean, look at self-driving cars. Look at automatic vehicles. You can't buy a manual anymore. There is no connection to the machine. They have removed you from the command section of the car. Sitting there, I don't have anything against electric cars. I think they're super neat. I don't have anything against self-driving cars because I think that's super cool too. But you get people, they're sitting there playing on their phone, or they're watching a movie, or they're playing video games in the driver's seat of their car while it's autonomously driving down the road. You have become a passenger. I'm a driver. I love to drive, but I also have to drive because I suffer from car sickness. It's a terrible thing to have to suffer from, but I prefer to drive. I like the way that feels. I feel that is being lost. You get people that they have no idea. I don't know how else to say this aside from saying it, because it's become increasingly more difficult for people that want to stay out of the scariest word on the planet, the word politics, with cars. Politics are now affecting every single way of life. Now, this is not a political podcast at all, but this is a car podcast, and we're going to talk about everything that has to do with cars. And at the certain car event in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, there was some activities that took place that have put a stain on that event now. They won't be having it again. They're not having it again next year, and it might never come back. All because of a group of individuals who ruined the event. They made it into a car takeover, burnouts, people getting hurt. It's a car show. People shouldn't be getting hurt over cars. I can't tell you how many times I watch those unsanctioned, I won't call them illegal because it shouldn't be, but those unsanctioned car events. That's why it is illegal now. These unsanctioned car events that end up getting people hurt, where you see people getting run over, where you see people getting hit. And it's a terrible thing. But that's why we're losing more and more of these freedoms that we used to have. It's like I was watching a video and it's like that right there, what I just said. I was watching a video and I saw this. That made me think and want to do this. It made me think and I thought it was funny. That is where we're having a problem. But I did see a video. It was an old, just a news, from the news, 1980s. And they were telling people, or asking people, interviewing people what they thought about the seatbelt law. The seatbelt rule, that you had to wear your seatbelt. They took it as an invasion upon their freedoms as an American. Something as simple as that, right? Well, I mean, T created this nation, right? And so with these things that are taking place, if you want to go out and have a rowdy, fun time and go do burnouts and go crazy, find a buddy with a wheat field, man. That's all I have to say. Find a buddy with a wheat field and go tear it up. But I don't know if I would go and do it out on the streets anymore because there's too much going on. There's too many people out there that get upset. And I'm not saying that to ruffle any feathers. I'm not saying that to start anything in the comments below, but I am saying it because it's true. And that's everything that we're going to talk about. That's why these are unscripted. I've got a little thing over here that's just showing me information. And honestly, as I'm doing this research, I'm blown away. It's interesting to say the least because there is a massive, and I can't stress this enough, there is a massive division within subcultures of the automotive community. Like you have a whole truck culture, right? There are subcultures within that truck culture, and not all the guys there get along because I'm right and you're wrong, dang it. My truck's cooler than yours is, and my pants are a little bit more blue. Okay? Or my collar is a little bit more blue. It's from a country song. Go listen to it. But instead of unity, there's more tribalism. And it's true. I mean, you think about that. That is a weird thought to have that it's tribal. What do you mean? How could cars be tribal, right? Stance guys, mock muscle guys, track people look down on stance builds, and off-roaders just ignore tuners. When we're all doing the same darn thing. I mean, I do classic cars. Trucks, I don't care what it is. I'm not a by golly dang it, I'm a Chevy guy, and that's the way it is. Nope, my Ford's built tough. No, I don't care. And you shouldn't either. I mean, have your cars that you love. I love my Chevy. That thing's that's a cool truck. And the reason why I love it so much is because it sat for 23 years, and I put a fuel tank and a fuel pump in it, and now I basically daily drive it. This other project I picked up sat for a few years and needs a lot of work and does not run the greatest yet, which is why we'll be working on it. See, I already almost spilled the beans. We're just not going to talk about it anymore. Some of you are probably already inferring. Stop, okay? You don't know what it is. I didn't tell you. But so we have that tribalism where there's people that are making fun of other people for their builds, which is insane because, you got all kinds of guys that are. I watched a video from another creator who went around and interviewed a bunch of the older car community members, 50 plus. A lot of the viewers that I have here are you. And your guys' responses were great. And that is exactly what I want people my age to understand, right? Yeah, you may not be interested in stance cars, but there is an appreciation. I mean, you can like it. Maybe it's not for you, but if it's something that they like and they built it and they like it, then great. More power to them. But they're not ostracized. It seems to be that the younger generations, like mine, want to ostracize. Nope, by golly dang it, I'm stance only, and if you're not stance, then you're nothing. That's not what it should be about. It spooked me a little bit. Thing fall. We are in fall. We are outside. We're going to try to get as much of these outside as we can because it's still nice out. But this division that I'm talking about weakens the community as a whole, the automotive community as a whole. It makes it harder to stand together when events face bans and restrictions. And it's not even just events. It's places. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with I'm going to call it a rumor, but there was talk and a thought that a certain individual politician that had never been to this area wanted to restrict or shut down Moab. Now, for those of you who are part of the 4x4 subculture, that's kind of like, whoa, hang on a minute. Who wants to shut down Moab? That's why I'm just saying it's a rumor, and we know how rumors are. We don't want to spread them. But I'm just fair warning, right? Fair warning about that, because that right there, if we can't come together and we can't have commonality, we can't, stand together, then we're going to lose OHV parks like that. this event in Gatlinburg. I think it's called Stanced Enough. Because of the actions of a few individuals, we have now probably lost the ability to ever go to that. I would have loved to go. But that's like a whole couple plane flies or a couple day drive for me. But now I might never be able to see that again. I'll be able to experience it through television, but it's not the same as actually going to the event, seeing it, talking to the people, hearing the sounds, seeing the cars firsthand. I try my best. I try to film the best I can. And if you're seeing a shadow from the sun, I'm sorry. This is a podcast after all, so you should be listening. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about basically comes right off the side of that, and that's the law enforcement and city response. Now, I'm going to talk about motorcycles here for a little bit, because I ride a motorcycle. I ride a 2011 KLR 650. It's considered an adventure bike, which I won't even get into motorcycles right now, because it's a whole other community within the overall thing. And so, law enforcement and city response. A lot of these guys that are out there riding these sports bikes and whatever, they are on the radar, on the law enforcement's radar, because of what they're doing. They're out there riding their motorcycles, enjoying a day, and then all of a sudden they're getting pulled over, and before you know it, officers taking the keys, they're telling you to sit on the curb, they're telling you who's that guy that just sped past us. You're sitting there going, I don't know, who was that guy? Well, hey man, don't lie to me, I know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? We don't want that happening to the automotive community, and it's already happening. I hate that happens for the motorcycle community, because like I said, I ride a motorcycle, and because of the actions of a very small group of people who have done street takeovers or have ran from the cops because they can, because those crotch rockets go really fast, they have now put a stain on that culture, that community within the greater scheme of things, which is really bad. So cities like Gatlinburg, Ocean City for HOI or HO2I, it's probably got a different name, and Houston have implemented special enforcement plans for car events. A special enforcement plan. Special task units. Just for cars. There's a special task force unit for motorcycles now. There's a special task force unit for car meets, car shows. And what happens when they sit there and go, nope, not at all. We're not having it at all anymore. We're not putting up with it. You guys are way too rowdy, when it's only a few people. And so if you're one of those people that's watching this, please stop. I like cars, man. I really like cars. And there's a lot of people that do. And so, because of these wild and crazy things that have happened at these car meets, it's made insurance super expensive for large meets and even small meets. Bet you didn't know that there's a whole bunch of insurance you have to pull just to do a car show now. Well, there is. And a lot of car shows require cars, like the car you're bringing, to have insurance as well. Some of these cars that people bring do not have insurance because they pulled them out of the barn that day and were like, hey, let's take it to the car show. That's what it should be about. That's what we should be able to do, that, because we're not technically driving the car. If you're trailering it over and you're dropping it off at the car show for people to appreciate, why does the car need insurance? Well, because you get people backing into each other. You get people tripping over things. You get people being silly with their cars and causing accidents, racing up and down the street. I mean, it happens every car show. And I'm not saying that it's bad. If you got the car, frickin' get on it, boy. But with taste. I mean, we all want to be the Duke brothers, but we need to just, we all can't drive like that. We don't have the skills. Now, there are many of you out there that do, and I'd love to get on that level. So because of the insurance is too large for meets, and it's become way too expensive, venues demand strict security or refuse to host altogether. Even legitimate Respectful events are now under suspicion because of a few viral bad actors. And this brings us all the way back to the social media thing that I was just talking about at the beginning of the episode. Because one person saw one event, one mistake that was made, an accident. They didn't even think they were being filmed. Gets filmed, gets put out there, somebody sees it, goes viral, and that is how the entire populace sees that car show now. Go look up other videos of Slammed Enough in Gatlinburg, and you'll see that it was a pretty wholesome event until a certain moment, until a certain point. And that is the point that we are all seeing now on the internet. That's the only thing that we're seeing. And so social media is a big factor. Platforms like TikTok and Instagram push the short, high energy content, meaning the craziest, loudest, and often the most illegal stuff gets the most engagement, which makes other creators want to do the same thing because it gets the most engagement. This creates the feedback loop. People starting to do wild things for views, and that's kind of what I just said, just reiterated. The older generation of enthusiasts, that being 2000s to 2010s, focused on build threads and forums, slower, more educational culture. Now the attention is economy. Or now it's the attention economy, excuse me. And that's what shapes the car scene more than actual craftsmanship. So the public media perception is extremely important to everything that we've got going on here as car lovers. Anything that you're doing out and about, if you go to these meets and you participate, unfortunately, you got to be on your best behavior. You're just going there to hang out, say hello to friends, right? But every eye is on you. Every time you go to these meets, every eye is on you. And this routes all the way back to politics again, unfortunately, because just that car show. That car show that I just covered in Walla Walla, not the truck show, the car show. People took the opportunity to do a political protest just because of the congregation of people. So all eyes are on you. All eyes are watching what's going on at these car events. I mean, it just seems like a simple little event, right? But now it is public figure. There's enough people that are doing it now, and enough people that have a public voice that are into cars and are doing cars that now have that big time respect and also the biggest pull. And so most enthusiasts just want to show off their builds, meet people, and share the passion. But since negative events go viral, they overshadow the thousands of good ones that happen quietly and respectfully. And that's kind of just to sum up what I was talking about. So I think we've covered why the automotive community has changed and why the culture is different. But now I want to talk about the positive side. The community is huge and growing every day. It's creative. It's passionate. It's honestly, some of the stuff that I see, it's blowing me away. Some of the ideas, and honestly, I think some of that comes from video games. Like, I don't know if anybody has played Forza or Need for Speed. I grew up playing Need for Speed. That was like, oh, cars are so cool. Yes, it was definitely running away from the police, but it was a video game, dang it. And Forza was that, and still is, that racing game, but with crazy cinematics. And just seeing those cinematics that people post, it's like, wow, that is cool. That is super cool. Younger enthusiasts are more diverse. There are more women who are joining the classic car, stanced car, truck car, etc., the automotive community than ever before. And they're doing it better than the men ever have, in my opinion. Why? Because attention to detail. When I used to do welding, the women would always do better than the men. They were always better welders, and they always will be because they have the patience. We men, we want to get it done. Let's get it done. But women will take their time because we want it done right the first time. And so, younger enthusiasts, there's more women, there's more variety in builds. I mean, all of these subcultures that we have in the automotive community now. The automotive community used to, like, the car culture. That's it. That was all it is. But now you can't even just use car culture to scratch the surface because there is so much going on. Crazy builds, restorers. I want to make it original. Revivalists, which is what I am. I like to go out and revive all these old cars, make sure they stay on the road. Now, do I have the idea that I want to make a stance car? Yeah, why not? Then I've done it, and I can say that I have, and then I get to experience what those people have experienced. I've had the lifted trucks. I've had the lifted Jeeps. I still have one. We'll be working on one here in a little while. But then I also have the classics, like that 67 Volkswagen Bug. I have that 64 Baja Bug. That is a whole other culture. Volkswagen culture is like... It's so easy to join the Volkswagen culture because so long as you got one, there's going to be someone talking about it. And I can't tell you anybody that hasn't ridden, seen, driven, or owned a Volkswagen. And if you're telling me, I've never owned a Volkswagen, don't lie to me. I know it. You don't know it, but maybe you were in the womb and your mom rode in a Volkswagen, or maybe she owned one. Just saying. So there's more interest in EV tuning, like with electric vehicles making a comeback. Electric vehicles are not new. I want to get that out there right now. Because there's like, I don't like electric cars, these new darn things. No. No. Electric cars came out before internal combustion really got on its feet. They'd been around in the 1920s. They had the infrastructure, they had the batteries to charge, they had electric cars. They were all over the place. But people liked internal combustion a bit more because they could do more things. There was more power, baby. And so that's what they wanted. And so, but now there's a lot of cars going, EV swaps. Me, I'm more into let's diesel swap an EV, but that's my thing. That may not be yours. Resto mods. If you're familiar with the term resto mod, that's kind of making an old car advance to meet today's standards. I love the idea of a resto mod. Resto mods are so cool. Imagine hopping into a 1956 Ford F100, but the inside being a 2025 Ford F-150. Laramie package or Bighorn package or whatever. I probably just offended all kinds of truck lovers there by putting in some Dodge and Chevy and all kinds of stuff together there. I don't know what packages they have, but resto mods are becoming very popular, and resto mods could be anything like putting LED headlights in. Some people will consider that a resto mod. And unique crossovers. So there's also that coming out. But grassroots events are rising again. Small, invite-only, local garage meets that prioritize connection and respect. But why does that have to be invite-only? Why does that have to be private? How come every car show that you go to can't prioritize respect and connection? And that leads us to, how can we fix and rebuild the automotive community? How can we rebuild the car culture? We've answered the question as to why things have changed now. Now the question is, how can we fix it? And I think this will be a question that we can sit there and talk about all the time. How can it be fixed? How can it be fixed? And there'll be all kinds of different people that will have their own opinions on how it could be fixed, why it's wrong, and how things should be. But that is where freedom is such a great thing, because we have the freedom to choose whether or not we want to be part of something rowdy. Rowdy is in the eyes of the beholder. or something civilized, respect-driven, and community-focused. For me, how I would redo things, no reckless driving at meets. If you're there to show off your car, you're there to park it, walk, present your craftsmanship instead of chasing clout. And how about, big one, don't trash talk other people's builds. Oh, you need to just get hard, bud. Oh, it's just comforting, rousing, Well, there's a time and a place. And there's certain things where maybe others go a little too far. And I think you know what I'm talking about. It's just not trash talk other people's builds, right? You want to be respectful. Education. Teach new enthusiasts the roots. Say you've got a guy who's never been part of the automotive community in his life, but he wants to get into it because he thinks it's cool. But what he thinks as the automotive community is chasing clout, freaking just drift track only. Wow, that was loud. Drift track only. I want to do burnouts and donuts in the streets, and I want to run from the cops. Shows versus go to the track etiquette. If you want to go out and you want to do that, you want to go and do drag races, you want to go do burnouts, you want to drift, go to drift track. Go to the drag strip. Rent a abandoned shopping mall parking lot and go to town. Burn some rubber. Get her gone. Or find a back road and just be safe. I'm not promoting anything. I'm just saying. And event behavior. Can't be a child out there. There's all kinds of different people that are out there. You might offend the wrong person. So when you're out there and you're going to an event, it's probably best not to run around like a hooligan. Climbing gas pumps, trying to get on top of roofs. Not the thing that I would do, but hey, if you're at a private car show and that's what you guys do, more power to you. Go climb stuff. Just don't climb other people's stuff. Want to be you it's all in your representation, right? You're representing an entire community when you're out there with these cars. I wouldn't say that you should just strictly promote legitimate shows, because you shouldn't have to go through and get a whole bunch of permits just to go park get a group of guys together and go for a cruise one afternoon. Go park all your cars out and about and have a little mini show. If people want to come by and look at your cars, great. Pop the hoods, chat, don't block the roads. If you're doing it in a Walmart parking lot, go off in the very back section. I wouldn't say that you need a permit for that, because you shouldn't have to have a permit to gather legally. We do have a right to gather and to freedom of speech. My freedom of speech is cars. So, but I would say that be responsible. If you're going to do a little meet, you're going to do one that's not legitimate, and you're just a group of guys coming around just to do something for fun on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday morning, just to prepare for the next work week, just be responsible. And leadership. Older enthusiasts mentoring the younger ones. And I don't see enough of that. A lot of the older guys, in my experience, they'd much rather just don't talk to me. You don't know. How are the younger enthusiasts supposed to know if you don't teach them? I find that some of the best information comes from those who are older and wiser. Sometimes some of these old guys do not want to be part of that. They don't want to be on camera, which I get it. They don't want to be on camera. I like to share with everyone so that at least somebody is able to be out there and receive some of it. And that's kind of why we're having these chats. I want to know what you guys have to think. You guys are hearing what I have to think. And maybe everything I'm saying isn't jiving, right? You're just like, I don't agree with any of that. Put it in the comments. I want to know what you think. You have a microphone. It's right there in your hand, right there on your television screen, if you're watching this on TV, get your phone out. If you're listening to this on your drive home from work, when you get home, open up this video and leave a comment of what you think. That is how we're going to grow and change and fix whatever. How we're going to be able to hold on to this wonderful community that we've been able to grow. And the TGR community is growing as well. What if this community that we're all part of right now turns into its own subculture? Like you got the Matt's Off-Road Recovery guys, Vice Grip Garage guys. I'm just saying, there's all kinds of stuff that's out there. You got to be willing to educate, because there will come a time where those who are super big enthusiasts, like my uncle, he built cars. That's what he did. He built muscle cars. And he passed away. And unfortunately, I don't have many of his stories. Once when that person is gone, who has all those stories, who has all that knowledge, who has all that experience, is gone, then that knowledge is lost forever. That part of the automotive community would be lost forever, and no part of the automotive community is small. Every single bit of it is big. Every single bit of it moves mountains. The automotive industry built the United States of America. The automotive industry supports the infrastructure of this great country. I am a diesel technician. I used to work on big old semi-trucks. Now I'm working on classic cars. But those big trucks would drive millions of miles just trafficking freight from one side of the United States to the other. And without that infrastructure, that critical infrastructure, look what happens when a whole bunch of semi-truck drivers decide that we're not driving for a day. We're going to pull. What would happen? What would happen if every truck driver in America one day hung up the hat and said, we're done. You guys got to get your food all on your own. You're going to find out that grocery stores don't just magically have food on the shelves. It has to get there somehow. And a good majority of shipping happens by truck. Some of it by train, other by plane, but a lot of it is by truck drivers. And so that right there is, I almost want to say it's very important to be passing down, mentoring, sharing the knowledge with others to keep communities like this alive. If you don't, and you keep it all to yourself, when the last guy who has the cure for cancer, I'm not going to tell anybody that I cured cancer, but I did, and I know how to do it. He passes away, nobody's going to know how to do it. Library of Alexandria. Grand example of a whole bunch of history lost. We don't want to lose the history. But we all remember what made us fall in love with cars. The sound of an engine, the smell of gas, late nights in the garage, or just riding in Granddad's old pickup truck. Matter of fact, there is a country song called Daddy Let Me Drive. Go listen to it. Tell me what you think. Cars aren't just metal. They are an expression and an extension of who we are as a people. And the world outside of us is one community, so we need to start acting like one. Outside of each of our little subcultures, outside of each of our little cultures within this large automotive community, do not little small sections. We are one big community, and we need to start acting like it. Now, I want to thank you guys so much for stopping by today and for listening to the TGR podcast. I know this podcast was kind of out there, up and down. We talked about a lot of stuff over the past hour, and I think a lot of it was important stuff, and we'll probably end up talking more about it because there's no way that I can fit everything that I have written down over here into one podcast. And so, if we respect the culture, the cities that allow us to put these events on, and each other, our car culture can grow again, bigger, better, and more united than before. And I'm going to leave it off with that. Thank you so much for stopping by. Make sure you like and subscribe. Check out more videos on the channel. We got all kinds of stuff here. Go check out some other people's channels as well. There's all kinds of fun stuff, and let's show the unity by experiencing everybody's other passions here on YouTube. That's the greatest place to do it. Go over to TikTok too. Check it all out. Have fun. And I will see you all right back here at the garage in the next episode and in the next long form video where we will be probably going back to work on the old Chevy and moving on to our new project. Have a good one.